Captain America Brave New World has gotten another round of test screenings, 2 new test screenings. And leaks have been coming out from the people who've seen these test screenings, and they are not good. Now, Tom Connors Jr. over at Midnight's Edge has been killing it with his coverage of this. Basically, this is a movie that has been completely reshot from the ground up. Yes, you
See,
said
he just likes to make shit up, dude. He does this all the time. He just
you have been on record saying they only reshot 3 things: Act 1, 2, and 3 of the film. And apparently Giancarlo Esposito, is that who
Giancarlo
Esposito.
You almost have to have an accent to say his name. It's like Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes. His character was completely added in reshoots. Apparently, he wasn't in the original draft of this movie. Apparently,
the sense of the rise of Skywalker here. All of a sudden, are you guys? A
lot of this.
Can you smell that?
But guys, so like this article from That Park Place. Let me just show it up again because That Park Place has just been killing it lately with really great news bits. They actually highlight some of the tweets that have been leaking about these test screenings. And, apparently the love story is very boring. The political aspect
at least they're
to it,
smart enough to have test screenings, unlike Joker, too.
Yep.
Yeah. But the biggest issue seems to just be that the movie is very boring. Like audiences just aren't engaged. They don't like the new Captain Falcon. And Anthony Mackie is on record as saying that like this is the movie that's going to be pivoting the MCU into a new era where Captain Falcon is basically like one of the leaders of the Avengers and all this other stuff. But nobody seems interested.
It's not.
Nobody seems interested in this film. So I'm going to start with Mr. Butters on this one.
You started with me and then you jump away. You didn't give me a chance to
I didn't start with you. I just said that you've been at the forefront about talking about this movie.
Well. He was complimenting you.
That was misleading. Was that not misleading, though?
It was very misleading. It was very
misleading.
Listen, Tom, I don't have anything to say about this anyway. I just want to know when the Super Jew movie is coming out. Because I think that would be a box office.
Well, apparently the love interest
vision.
Apparently the love interest in this is based off of the Jewish female superhero that they have in the Marvel universe.
Sabra, and they eliminated her backstory in this, so you won't even get it in this story either.
I think he should be based
she's not Jewish.
I think it's not mentioned. She ends up being one of the Black Widows instead.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. But Mr. Butters, since Mr. Connors is so adamant about throwing in his 2 cents, I'm going to go to him instead of you.
Please.
Yes.
Please
I wasn't necessarily, but yeah.
Mr. Tom Connors Jr., what do you have to say about Captain America Brave New World testing so poorly with test screening audience?
I mean, are we surprised? Seriously. No. I mean, nobody asked for this movie. If there was ever a Captain America 4 to be made, we all know what that story is. That's the story of Steve going through time and putting back all the stones, right? That's the story everybody wants to see. Nobody gives a crap about this. And if anything, it's an insult to the fans because Falcon was one of the premier black characters in Marvel. And you've gone and you've taken away what made him who he was uniquely, him, right, and tried to give him some white man's visage. So, like, are you just trying to say that all of us just want to be white or what? I don't get it, what you're trying to say.
That's what they're trying to say.
Like, at the end of the day, like, who cares about this movie? We know it's another hump we've got to get over to get something better eventually. But what it's doing is going off of the point we were just making before. This is just another movie that's going to hurt superhero films down the line.
Yeah.
And this kind of a test screening is not good. There's not much more tweaking they can really do to this movie at this point. I mean, they've tweaked it so much that, frankly, I mean, they're going to keep shooting it, and it's going to be in theaters. Like, I'm going to be able to change my joke from, they're still shooting Rise of Skywalker to they're still shooting Captain America 4, because that's kind of getting to that point. This movie was done and then reshot and done and reshot and done and reshot. And my joke was all about how they're trying to pretend that it's no big deal. It's like, oh, well, there was only 3 major sequences we had to reshoot. That was all it was. And that's where I joked, like, yeah, what, act 1, 2, and 3? Because at this point, the reshoot schedule was, I don't know if you guys recall, was more days than their shooting schedule was. And like, that doesn't compute.
Does that give you a little bit of like hope for the Superman movie, given how on point
No.
James Gunn has stayed?
And it has nothing to do with the movie itself, Brett, but I'm glad you asked, because that's kind of where I'm coming from in getting to this. Is for everybody who thinks that there's some rivalry with DC and Marvel, there's not, because James Gunn has made this point himself, and he's right. He wants to see Marvel do well, just like Marvel wants to see DC do well, because if they're not, then we get Joker 2.
Mm.
Because people should have went to see the movie regardless of how fucking bad it was, just because it was the thing to do, and now it's not anymore. So, like, if I'm James Gunn, I'm going, oh, fuck. What am I going to do in a year from now when my movie's supposed to be in theaters and it's supposed to save not only the DC universe, but now he's got everybody basically looking at him going, man, we hope you can save comic book movies at this point, because Marvel ain't got shit for the next 2 or 3 years that's going to be able to do anything. Right? Mm-hmm. Until they get to Fantastic Four and the next Avengers movies, we're all going to be just kind of sitting back going, what do you got? Because you ain't impressed us for the last 2 years, guys.
Get the Thunderbolts, Tom.
Or
Thunderbolts.
3 years even. Now at this point, 4 or 5 years, maybe even. Outside of Sans a few things. But that's all I got to say about this. This is a disaster waiting.
I'm wondering if Mexican Iron Man would be the arch nemesis for Super Jew in my movie.
Oh my God. I had to bring Super Jews.
You think he would do it?
What about Mongol prostitute? What role does she play in that?
Yeah.
The fact that Stan Lee didn't make that character,
the love interest.
Really sad.
Yeah. So, guys, before I throw this to Brett, I just want to say that last night I checked out the new HBO original series, The Franchise, and it's basically a thinly veiled lampoon of the process of making DC Universe movies at Warner Brothers. Highly recommend that if you like superhero movies, you check out this show, because it is a very interesting behind the scenes look. They have one character who is quite obviously based off of Kevin Feige, which is very interesting, but definitely worth watching. I believe the first episode's out right now on HBO Max. But Brett, one of the big things here is that apparently there are 3 major set pieces in Captain Falcon, and both test screenings who watched 2 different cuts of the movie all said that they were bad, that these set pieces were not good. And Marvel's in kind of a pickle right now, because if they're going to go back and try to fix these things, any more reshoots and pushback of release date is going to really screw up all the other movies that they have planned. So they can't really push this thing back any further.
Well,
but it's obvious that they need to fix this.
Yeah.
So what's your take on a movie that needs such drastic tinkering, but they just don't have the time to do it?
Well, the funny part is I'm probably going to end up being like, yeah, it was fun. Like, I already know me. And it's like, here's the thing. Like, everyone talks about how when Falcon and Winter Soldier came out, right? Like, there's the political messaging. It's all over it. And I was talking about this earlier, where I said that it tends to be less so in the movies. So they just avoid the...
I did not mute him. Oh. I didn't mute him.
He's gone. What the hell happened? That's weird.
We lost Brett.
Really weird.
He's saying, wait a second. I gotta wait a second.
So we lost him.
Disney came in and muted his mic.
So is the premise?
Tim came in and said, "All right,
I always loathe when my mic cuts out there." So
does Tim Pool have a kill switch on you? There?
Yes,
I thought Tim was mad that we were talking about Super Jews. He was like, "Yeah, back it up."
What it is? No. Like, I'm gonna end up liking the movie. I can already tell you. I'm not liking it, but I'll be like, "Yeah, it was fine." It's not gonna matter to me for most of it. But it's just like talking about spending $200 million to make Joker, right? Like when the budget balloons this high and production takes this many like side roads to get to your final product. I would love to get back to the era where, like, last year we were talking about, it's really funny. We're talking about strong week to week holds, and you're talking about good word of mouth. That's what Top Gun Maverick did, right? It didn't make $1 gazillion in its first week. It made like 100 million or something like that. And then steady over time made all the way up to $1 billion. But to me, get back to spending $100 million on your movie so that your overhead is way lower. And I would love to see that, but there was no way they were going to do this movie at that price point. And with that many reshoots, I don't even know how much I'm going to actually care. Maybe I'll be the only one who ends up liking it.
Brian,
isn't this
I'm
movie...
probably going to like it too.
There you go. Me and Brian. It's always me and Brian. We like The Flash. We hate the
Yeah.
Batman. You know.
Yeah. we're on the
Oh,
same
I
page
hated
here.
the Batman.
Go
Hated
ahead,
the
Dutch.
Batman.
Dutch, say what you want to say.
I was just going to say, isn't this movie about him being upset and going to the president because he can't get a bank loan?
That was the show.
That was a show.
If
That was a
if
show.
that's
Dutch.
what it's
Oh.
about, that's going to be funny. Mr. President, they won't give me a bank loan even though I'm an Avenger.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's because I'm black.
The white cops show up
Redlining
in the
back.
all-black neighborhood and are like, "Oh, y'all seem pretty suspicious walking around."
We have a superhero called Redline, and that'll be a whole new thing.
That's the dumbest storyline I've ever heard in my life. Who would not give him a fucking loan?
That's the silliest thing.
Especially like the minority Avenger, right? The guy who say like,
Right.
I mean,
But,
just
like-
out of the simple fact alone, you could like use that as like an advertising tool at that point, right? Like,
Yeah, give him a brand deal like these YouTubers.
yeah, like what the hell? That makes
absolutely.
absolutely no fucking sense. They're
Why
acting
doesn't he have
like
a TikTok?
they're acting like, oh, this world would be great if like Nike would give some black person a fucking deal, you know?
yeah,
I can
but-
see if the Hulk walked in there all hulked out and been like, "Me, loan? Can I have loan?" I can see them being like, "Listen, like bring out Bruce before we talk."
stuff.
Me damage, smash, me smash, loan.
Are they saying that the Avengers don't pay him well enough? Is Tony that cheap?
That's-
Was he that cheap
Yeah.
that he just doesn't have
Well,
any
that's
money?
the question. Do the Avengers even
No
really
collateral?
get paid? Like, yeah, I don't think they
See,
get
but you're
paid.
be quiet though, because eventually, just like what you were mentioning with the show about making DC superhero movies, is someday we'll have to watch a movie about superhero accountants and all of the stuff it takes to hide in shell corporations to
Honestly,
do fun stuff.
We're
that
gonna
would
have
be a
superhero
horrible
lawyers.
show. It would be hilarious, and that's what I thought Shield was supposed to be. Was like the cleanup crew, right? Like that's what the way they originally pitched it to me was like. These are the guys who come in and clean up the mess after the superheroes have, saved the day.
Yeah, damage control.
What was that? What was that
Damage
show
control.
that? What was that show that was out for like a season where it was like it's the people who get called to clean up after they
Powerless.
powerless?
Oh,
yes,
that
that's
one.
what it was.
Oh, okay.
I actually liked that show. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
yeah, it
Had
was like
Albert
an
in
insurance. It was an insurance company that was run by like the cousin of like Bruce Wayne or something like that.
Yeah, it was Bruce Wayne's cousin, and he was like, and Bruce Wayne looked down on him. It was pretty funny.
What was
They
funny-
would come to work and randomly see cars being smashed and rolled up. It was pretty good.
Batman's all like, when I talked about insurance, that's not the kind of insurance I meant.
You know what's great is like the intro to that would zoom in on superheroes, but then zoom past them to like the poor humans that are like being
Yeah.
crushed by rocks and cars. It was about like the regular people that exist in this universe where superheroes and supervillains are just a menace.